Can you say with 100% certainty that ByteDance or the CCP cannot use your company or its divisions to heed content to promote pro-CCP messages for an act of aggression against Taiwan?
We do not promote or remove content at the request of the Chinese government.
The question is, the question is, are you 100% certain that they cannot use your company to promote such messages?
It is our commitment to this committee and all our users that we will keep this free from any manipulation by any government.
If you can't say 100% certain, I take that as a no.
And that was the CEO of TikTok on Capitol Hill on Thursday, getting grilled by lawmakers on his company's ties to the Chinese Communist Party. TikTok boasts 150 million monthly users in the United States, but it is also facing a ban in several states over national security concerns, including that the CCP has unlimited access to user-sensitive data, and it can also drive its propaganda. Joining me right now is independent journalist Matt Taibbi. He has been breaking news on the Twitter files and exposing potential collusion between government and media to hide truth. Matt, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
Well, you have integrity and want free speech all around. What is your thoughts on TikTok? Does anything change in your mind about not wanting censorship, even though we know that the Chinese Communist Party has laws in place? Any Chinese company will be under law, forced to give up any data that the CCP wants. Does that change your opinion about the potential of a ban on TikTok?
Well, honestly, what it reminds me of is early 2017 when Google, Twitter, and Facebook were dragged to the Hill by the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. And, it was demanded of them that they come up with a plan to prevent the sowing of discord. Governments are always going to want these platforms to guarantee to them that they will have access to the content moderation machinery of these platforms. And TikTok is probably in the same position as those platforms were back in 2017. It's a very difficult question, speech-wise, like what do you do about these platforms? So I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I think it would be a major unprecedented step to block it.
It would be an unprecedented step, but you also have these efforts by foreign adversaries to buy into U.S. media. Look, take Russia. We talked last week about the potential of an acquisition of Forbes Media. Now, I heard from one of those people, Shiv Kempka, who said, no, we are not attached to Vladimir Putin. And yet there are many people who feel that that group wanting to take over Forbes Media is an issue. So what about that? I mean, the U.S. media companies are U.S. owned, with the exception of a TikTok or perhaps if we see a Forbes Media deal go through from a foreign adversary.
Well, I think the opinion of Americans historically has always been that our democracy is vibrant enough that we can withstand propaganda from other countries by simply having a better argument, making a better argument ourselves to our own population. That's the principle of free speech. If other governments want to try to propagandize our population, I doubt they're going to succeed, frankly, unless we do a very, very bad job of talking to our own people about what our goals are.
Yeah, I like that. I like that analysis. Matt, let's talk about Twitter files, because you were able to expose really what looked like collusion between the FBI and government agencies and Twitter. What strikes you most about what just took place in terms of exposing the partnership it looked like?
Well, our most recent discoveries involve something called Stanford's Virality Project, which was it was created by Stanford University. It's an outgrowth of something that was called the Election Integrity Partnership that was founded in 2020. There's a lot of state money involved in this project, but what was most significant about what we found emails to Twitter in which this project told them that they should consider as standard misinformation on your platform true stories that might promote hesitancy or true stories of vaccine side effects. So we now know that a lot of these anti-disinformation programs, whether they're actual state agencies or whether they're NGOs that are state-funded, they're targeting true information that just happens to be counter-narrative, which I think is extremely dangerous.
Yeah, it is extremely dangerous. And then you've got this administration wanting to set up a Disinformation Governance Board. How scary is that?
It's terrifying. They've tried a couple of times. The Disinformation Governance Board last year had to be basically paused after 3 weeks, and then they threw it away. But they continued to have something called the MDM subcommittee. Now, just last week, they essentially announced that they're no longer going to have this misinformation, disinformation, malinformation subcommittee. But there's another subcommittee that's coming up behind it that I think may essentially inherit the same mantle that the governance board was supposed to have. So we have to be on the lookout for these government efforts to try to centralize the cleansing of, quote, disinformation from the media landscape, which I don't think is the government's job.
You know, Matt, how do you feel about all of this? Because I know before you started, discovering all of this really bad behavior, you identified as a Democrat, and now you've got all of your friends, quote unquote, in the media attacking you for exposing this.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I was raised a traditional ACLU liberal. I believed in free speech my whole life. That was one of the things that attracted me, frankly, to the Democratic Party when I was a kid, was the idea that we were the party that believed in letting everybody have a say, and we'll just make a better argument, and that's how this system works. But apparently something very dramatic has changed in politics in America, and there's been a shift. There's no question about it anymore, that now the parties have had a complete reversal on how they view these issues.
Amazing. All right, Matt, thanks very much for being here this morning. Independent journalist Matt Taibbi, thank you.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.